housing instability does cause significant trauma and turnover for the student experiencing that instability, and also their classmates and neighborhoods. I mean, it breaks apart any type of relationship that you try to build with your community. And our district, unfortunately, is not able to provide transportation to a child that wants to stay in a school, even if they move within our own district. So I have many students, at least a third of my students come in after October 1st or leave prior to the closing of the school year. And that is rough in a number of areas. Academic performance is significantly stunted when you are entering a class and building a new relationship with your teachers, because as middle school students, they have content area teachers as well as specialist teachers. Sometimes they have resource teachers if they have an individualized education plan, which could include a number of different support personnel. Being ripped out of that environment into a new environment is tough. And middle school is tough for all children. And the emotional trauma and not having the skills to express and regulate their emotions is seen in the classroom. Being able to sit down and take a test. When you're thinking about walking your little brother and sister to school and dropping them off, making sure they're in their proper uniform, and then getting to your school on time for breakfast, and by the time you get upstairs and unpacking your stuff and realizing that you left your backpack at your neighbor's house because you have 2 weeks before your new home or apartment will be available for you to move in. And I have students that I have picked up in Stanford at the shelter that provides transportation back to their home district when they become homeless during the school year. That was mentioned earlier. And I've picked up that student to bring to our graduation ceremony, and was there when I was driving her home, and she just said, "Thank you so much. I don't know what I would have done if I couldn't stay at Waltersville." It meant the world to her. And she had a very close bond that she built with the woman who drove her to and from school, because she had to get up, and she was picked up, I believe, at 5 in the morning. At 35 years old, I don't like getting up at 5 in the morning. So I couldn't even imagine what that was like for a middle school student. In addition to the ruler approach, we have incorporated restorative practices into our SEL initiative. And the reason for that, it was twofold. Teachers began to be able to recognize the difference between frustration and anger in their classroom through a lot of training from the Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence. Slight differences, facial cues that you might not recognize. My teacher education program did not teach me those skills. Restorative practices utilize circles to help us build relationships and to repair harm that has been caused. But it's also a mindset shift. It's a mindset shift that really focuses on partnerships and creating a brave space to be able to share your struggles, to learn from one another, both in and out of the classroom. And having the ability to do that not only sets you up for educational success, but also future success in your career or higher education, and even parenting. I often employ the techniques that I've been recently exposed to over the past few years in my own family life. We bring in our students' families into trainings. We use one of the anchor tools that Ruler has. The first anchor tool is a charter, and we create family charters. How do you want to feel when you go home? I want to feel safe is the #1 response from our pre-K through 12th grade students. I want to feel safe. Many staff members, when they say to staff, how do you want to feel when you come to work? I want to feel safe. Many, our superintendents and our directors, safety was on their charter. Parents, they want to feel loved. Students, when they go home, want to feel cared for and accepted. They want to feel those ways when they come to school as well. Families are also shown, how do we help our children feel that way? What can you do as a mom or a dad to help your child feel safe and cared for when they come home? When middle school parents would ask me, oh my gosh, how can we help our son improve his English grade, his reading grade? I said, well, by now, he's primarily responsible for his learning, but what you can do is make sure he has a quiet, safe space to read, to work on math problems, to figure out those science challenges that they learned in lab and reflect on them, to write their lab report or type up their lab report if they're lucky enough to have that technology available to them. Many of my students do not. Many of them type papers on their phones. And adults jokingly will respond, oh, they're using texting lingo. Try typing a 3 to 5 page paper on your smartphone. It is not easy. Spacing is all over the place. Formatting, forget it. It's completely off. Those are challenges that my students face on a daily basis. Yeah. My work as the SEL coordinator, it's been my dream job. I now am able to go to directors' meetings at City Hall and explain to them challenges that teachers are facing in the classroom that directly impact student learning. Resources, personnel that are needed. My position would not exist without the partnerships created for this work. I'm able to go into the schools and go into common planning meetings, showing teachers how to incorporate these SEL skills naturally in their lesson plan design and use restorative practices to create a platform conducive to learning. And it has truly been a blessing, but it does take a village. It takes partnerships. I appreciate the acknowledgement that educators cannot do this all on our own. And trust me, we try. We stay up late nights writing grants and seeking opportunities for our children. And without individuals like you who are here today because you're passionate about an issue that impacts our children and the education system, it's very inspiring. So thank you all.
Thank you, Carrie. I think you did a great job of explaining to us how the district is really trying to meet the social and emotional learning needs of students. But, you know, it comes back to that foundation of a stable house where, as you said, they have a safe, comfortable place to do their homework and resources that they need, and a feeling of safety in their home community. So I thank you for pulling those two things together.